In the beginning, there was chaos in the grappling universe. Limbs flailed without purpose, holds were as fleeting as dreams, and the ground was a place of uncertainty. It was a time of grappling darkness. Then, in a moment of divine inspiration, the first wristlock was bestowed upon humanity by the grand masters of yore, illuminating the path of martial righteousness. Legend speaks of an ancient master, Grapplingus Maximus, who, while meditating under the sacred Bodhi tree of Bouts, received a vision. In this transcendent dream, the martial gods revealed to him the secret of the wristlock, a technique so profound and powerful that it promised to bring balance to the grappling forces. With this newfound knowledge, Grapplingus Maximus set forth to spread the good word. He traveled far and wide, demonstrating the holy wristlock to disbelievers and skeptics. Many mocked him, for they could not fathom the might hidden within such a subtle maneuver. But soon they witnessed its power, the way it could gently yet decisively guide an opponent to submission, like a shepherd leading a lost sheep back to the fold. The legend of the wristlock grew, and it was passed down through generations of grappling prophets. Each added their own flair, their own interpretation, but the essence remained unchanged. The wristlock was a symbol of control, a testament to the idea that true power lies not in brute force, but in skill and finesse. And so the Church of Wristlocks was born, a sanctuary for those who sought the higher truths of grappling. Here, the wristlock is not just a technique, it's a philosophy, a way of life. It teaches us patience, precision, and the art of seizing the right moment. For in the world of martial arts, it's not the loudest voice that prevails, but the one that moves with purpose and grace. Brethren, as we congregate in the sacred dojo of the Church of Wristlocks, let us reflect upon the core doctrines that guide our practice and illuminate our path. The principle of precision over power. In our hallowed art, the wristlock is not merely a technique, it is a symbol of the triumph of skill over brute strength. We believe that the smallest joint, when manipulated with expert precision, can humble the mightiest of opponents. It's not about how hard you can hit, but how strategically you can apply a twist. The sanctity of the wrist. In the Church of Wristlocks, the wrist is revered as a sacred site, a temple of potential. We treat it with the utmost respect and understanding, for it holds the key to both physical and spiritual victories. Just as a skilled pianist caresses the keys, a true wristlocker knows the art of gently, yet firmly, guiding the wrist to its destiny. The path of patience and timing. Our teachings emphasize the virtues of patience and timing. The perfect wristlock is not rushed. It is a culmination of the right moment, the right angle, and the right pressure. It teaches us that in life, as in grappling, timing is everything. One must wait for the opportune moment to strike, much like a cobra lying in wait for the perfect moment to unleash its coiled power. The unity of mind, body, and wrist. We believe in the holistic unity of mind, body, and wrist. The wristlock is not just a physical act, it's a mental and spiritual journey. It requires focus, inner peace, and an almost Zen-like state of mind where the practitioner becomes one with the wrist, understanding its desires, fears, and potential. Humility and respect. Lastly, we preach the virtues of humility and respect. The wristlock, with its deceptive simplicity and elegance, teaches us to never underestimate the small and unassuming. It reminds us that true strength lies in understanding and respecting both our abilities and limitations. In the Church of Wristlocks, these doctrines form the bedrock of our practice. They guide us in our quest for mastery, not just of the wristlock, but of ourselves. As we navigate the mats of life, let these teachings be our compass, leading us to greater understanding, skill, and spiritual fulfillment. In the sacred texts of the Church of Wristlocks, there lie parables and scriptures, each a gem of wisdom wrapped in the cloak of humor. Let us delve into these holy writs and uncover the deeper truths they hold. The parable of the arrogant grappler. Once there was a grappler, strong and skilled, who boasted he could escape any hold. He mocked the wristlock, calling it a technique for the weak. One day he faced a humble practitioner of our church. As the match began, the arrogant grappler laughed, underestimating his opponent. But lo, in a swift, almost poetic motion, he found himself caught in a wristlock, gentle yet inescapable. Thus, the scripture teaches, "He who underestimates the wrist shall find himself locked in its embrace." The scripture of the wandering joint. And so it was written, the joint that wanders away from the path of caution will inevitably find itself in the land of locks. Respect thy joints, and they shall serve thee well. The parable of the two disciples. Two disciples of the church debated which was more important, speed or technique. They challenged each other to a match to settle their dispute. The first disciple, quick as lightning, attempted to dazzle with speed, but lacked control. The second, slower but meticulous, waited for the right moment and applied a wrist lock with impeccable technique. The fallen disciple learned that in the realm of wrist locks, precision and patience triumph over haste, the scripture of the unseen victory. In the shadows of doubt, the wrist lock awaits, unseen, underestimated, yet ever powerful. For in the art of grappling, the greatest victories are those that no one sees coming. These parables and scriptures serve as moral compasses, guiding us on our journey. They teach us to respect the art, to value precision over arrogance, and to understand that in the world of wrist locks, the most profound victories are often the most subtle. In the annals of the Church of Wristlocks, there are countless tales of miraculous victories and enlightening experiences. Here are some of the most inspiring testimonies from our faithful flock. The tale of Sister Gripolo. Sister Gripolo was a novice, doubtful of her path in the art. However, during a pivotal sparring session, she executed a wrist lock so sublime, so perfect in form and function, that it was said to have brought a tear to the eye of the Grandmaster himself. From that day, she became a beacon of hope, proving that even the humblest among us can achieve greatness. Brother Twist's revelation. Brother Twist, known for his skepticism, experienced a revelation one fateful evening. In a match against a far larger opponent, he found himself cornered and outmatched. In a moment of desperation, he remembered the teachings of the church and applied a wrist lock with such finesse that his opponent tapped out in awe. Brother Twist became a devout believer, preaching that in the wrist lies the key to overcoming even the most daunting of challenges. The conversion of Master Slam. Master Slam, once a critic of our ways, found himself intrigued by the mysterious effectiveness of the wrist lock. After much study and practice, he became a convert, declaring publicly that the wrist lock was not just a technique, but a revelation. His transformation inspired many, showing that even the most hardened of hearts could be unlocked by the gentle yet firm grasp of the wrist lock. These stories remind us that the path of the wrist lock is filled with unexpected victories and profound insights. They serve as testimonials to the power of our faith and the endless possibilities that await those who embrace the teachings of the Church of Wristlocks. As we reach the culmination of our sacred sermon, let us embark on the most hallowed journey within the Church of Wristlocks, the path to wristlock enlightenment. To attain this revered state, one must first embrace the doctrine of the gentle grasp. It's not about crushing the wrist in a display of barbaric strength, but about understanding its whispers and guiding it with a touch as light as a feather, yet as decisive as a judge's gavel. Next, one must meditate upon the circle of control. Visualize the wrist as the center of a universe, around which all your techniques orbit. Your awareness should be like the gravity that keeps planets in place, focused, unwavering, and all-encompassing. Practitioners must then walk the path of patience. Enlightenment does not come to those who rush. Like a master chess player, a true wrist locker knows the value of strategic waiting, striking only when the moment is ripe with possibility. Finally, seek the wisdom of the wrist. Engage in deep philosophical contemplation about the wrist and its place in the grand scheme of martial arts. Understand that the wrist lock is more than a move. It's a metaphor for life's struggles and triumphs, a symbol of the power hidden in subtlety and finesse. By following these steps, you, dear disciple, will not just master the wrist lock. You will become one with it, It will guide you in your moments of doubt, strengthen you in your times of weakness, and enlighten you in your quest for knowledge. So go forth, practitioners of the sacred wristlock, armed with the wisdom and humor of our teachings. Spread the good word, share the divine grip, and remember, in the Church of Wristlocks, every handshake is an opportunity for enlightenment. Introduction: The Holy Grasp of Enlightenment. Blessed disciples of the divine wrist, gather round as we embark once again on a sacred journey through the hallowed scriptures of the Church of Wristlocks. As we convene under the benevolent shadow of our almighty wristlock, let us bask in the glory of this most exalted and cunning technique. O ye of mighty grip and supple wrists, let us recall why we are here. Not for the mundane pursuits of mere physical strength or the flashy flamboyance of high kicks and wild punches. Nay, we are the chosen ones, the keepers of the true path, the path of the wristlock, a technique so profound, so elegant it could only have been conceived in the minds of the martial gods themselves. Let us open our hearts and minds to the teachings of the wristlock, the art that transcends mere grappling, becoming a beacon of enlightenment in a world lost in the darkness of inefficient moves. For in the wristlock we find not just a submission technique, but a way of life, a philosophical guide to the universe and beyond. As we delve into the sacred scriptures of our beloved art, let us do so with the knowledge that each twist, each turn, each gentle yet firm lock of the wrist brings us closer to the ultimate truth. The truth that the wristlock, in its infinite wisdom, is not just a part of martial arts. It is martial arts. So, esteemed practitioners of the great wristlock, prepare yourselves for a sermon of enlightenment, humor, and a touch of divine sarcasm as we explore the wonders and teachings of our cherished technique. The sacred scriptures of the wristlock. Brethren and sistren of the sacred mat, let us now turn to the revered scriptures of our faith, the holy manuscripts that sing the praises of the wristlock. For within these sacred texts lie the eternal truths of our art, written by the ancient masters who first beheld the wristlock's divine beauty. The parable of the boastful bear and the wily weasel. Once, in the ancient times of old, there lived a boastful bear, strong and mighty, who claimed no lock could hold him, no grip could bind him. Along came a wily weasel, small and unassuming, a practitioner of the sacred wristlock. They met on the field of battle, and the bear laughed at the weasel's size. But with a swift movement, as quick and cunning as a flash of lightning, the weasel applied the sacred wristlock. The bear, in a mix of pain and awe, tapped out, proclaiming, "Truly, the wristlock is the greatest of all techniques." The verse of the enlightened grip. And so it was written in the scrolls of joint manipulation. Blessed are those who master the wrist, for theirs is the kingdom of control. They shall guide the lost and subdue the mighty, for in the wrist lies the power of destiny. The tale of the arrogant eagle and the humble dove. An arrogant eagle, proud of his soaring strikes and mighty claws, once challenged a humble dove, a follower of the wristlock way. They clashed under the watchful eyes of the sun and moon, and though the eagle's attacks were fierce, the dove was calm. With grace and serenity, the dove used the eagle's strength against him, securing a wristlock that brought the mighty bird to the ground. The eagle, defeated but enlightened, spread the word. In the gentle grasp of the wristlock, true power is found. The wisdom of the ancient locksmith. In the gardens of strategy, the wise locksmith plants the seeds of the wristlock. For he knows, as the seasons change and the flowers bloom, so too will the opportunity for the perfect lock arise. Patience and precision, he teaches, are the keys to unlocking victory. Through these scriptures and parables, the ancient wisdom of the wristlock is passed down to us, a timeless testament to its efficacy and elegance. Let us reflect upon these teachings, for they are not mere stories, but guiding lights on our path to mastery and enlightenment. Testimonies of the Wristlock. In the hallowed halls of our great Church of Wristlocks, many have come to find enlightenment and transformation through the sacred art. Let us share some of their most inspiring and humorous testimonies. The Vision of Victor the Visionary. Victor, renowned in martial arts circles for his elaborate and intricate techniques, once viewed the wristlock with skepticism. That was until he was visited in a dream by the great wristlock master, Revenant Canutus. In this vision, Revenant Canutus revealed the celestial beauty and infinite complexity of the wristlock, showing Victor entire galaxies existing within the twist of a joint. Awakened from his slumber, Victor became an ardent disciple, preaching that the wristlock held the key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe. So, the epiphany of Eloise, the erudite. Eloise, ever the scholar of martial arts, had always approached techniques with a meticulous eye, seeking logic and practicality in every move. Her skepticism towards the wristlock's simplicity was well known until one fateful evening altered her perspective. Walking home through a dimly lit alley, Eloise found herself confronted by a would-be assailant. In that critical moment, instinct and training took over, and she executed a flawless wristlock, neutralizing the threat with astonishing efficiency. This real-world application sparked Eloise's epiphany. The wristlock was not just a technique, but a profound blend of practicality, effectiveness, and graceful control perfectly suited for the unpredictable dance of self-defense. The transformation of timid Timothy. Timothy, nicknamed Timid for his shy demeanor, never believed he could stand out in the world of martial arts. However, his encounter with the wristlock at a church seminar changed everything. When he effortlessly wristlocked a notorious braggart in front of the entire class, Timothy found his inner lion. His transformation was so profound that he became a legend in local dojos, a testament to the empowering force of the wristlock. The redemption of Rhonda the Reckless. Rhonda, known in her circles as Reckless for her aggressive and uncontrolled fighting style, found herself at a crossroads after a series of defeats. Seeking guidance, she turned to the Church of Wristlocks, where she learned the art of the wristlock. The technique taught her the value of precision over power, control over chaos. Rhonda's redemption in the eyes of her peers was marked by her newfound calm and strategic approach, all thanks to the humbling and enlightening power of the wristlock. These tales, dear followers, are not just testimonials. They are the living, breathing proof of the transformative power of our sacred wristlock. Let them be a source of inspiration and humor as we continue to walk the path of the wristlock. The wristlock as a way of life. Beloved congregation of the Church of Wristlocks, let us now ponder how the sacred teachings of the wristlock transcend the mats and extend into the very essence of our daily lives. For in the holy grip of the wristlock, we find not just a martial technique, but a guide for living with grace, strategy, and a touch of divine humor. In the supermarket aisles, consider the mundane task of navigating the crowded aisles of your local supermarket. As you deftly maneuver your cart, applying the principles of the wristlock, precision, agility, and the strategic anticipation of your fellow shoppers' movements, you find enlightenment between the produce section and the frozen foods. The wristlock teaches us that even in the most chaotic of environments, there exists a rhythm, a flow that can be harnessed for tranquility and efficient shopping. In the boardroom or during family dinner debates, the wristlock philosophy shines as a beacon of tactical diplomacy. Much like securing a gentle yet firm grip on an opponent's wrist, one must approach negotiations with a balance of assertiveness and understanding. The wristlock teaches us to apply pressure not with aggression, but with well-timed arguments and the subtle art of persuasion. Mastering the daily commute. The daily commute, a battleground where the uninitiated are lost in a sea of chaos. But not you, dear wristlockers. With the Wristlock's teachings, you navigate the bustling streets with the serenity of a monk and the cunning of a fox. You understand that the key to a peaceful commute lies not in brute force, but in the graceful dance of timing and spatial awareness. The Zen of household chores. Even in the seemingly mundane task of household chores, the Wristlock's wisdom prevails. Be it washing dishes or vacuuming, each movement is an opportunity to practice the Wristlock's principles. Fluid motions, a firm yet gentle touch, and the satisfaction of transforming disorder into order. Much like transitioning from a chaotic grapple to a perfectly executed wristlock. Thus, dear followers, let us carry the teachings of the Wristlock with us in all walks of life. For in its wisdom we find the keys to navigating the complexities of our existence with humor, grace, and a touch of divine strategy. The Wristlock is not just a part of our practice, it is a part of our very being. Miracles and wonders. The Wristlock in action. Gather round, disciples of the divine Wristlock, for it is time to regale ourselves with tales of miracles and wonders where our cherished Wristlock has manifested its mystical power in the most extraordinary of circumstances, the great kitchen calamity. Behold the tale of Brother Baker, whose kitchen was once besieged by a chaos of culinary proportions. As pots boiled over and timers buzzed in a symphony of stress, Brother Baker, in a moment of inspired genius, applied the Wristlock technique to his kitchen utensils. With the grace of a seasoned chef and the precision of a Wristlock master, he twirled and flipped, turning what could have been a disaster into a feast fit for the gods. Such is the power of the Wristlock, turning turmoil into triumph with a twist of the wrist. The Office Uprising. In the land of cubicles and coffee machines, Sister Scribe found herself facing the tyranny of a jammed printer, a beast most foul and temperamental. Recalling her training, she approached the beast and applied a Wristlock maneuver to its stubborn paper tray. Lo and behold, the printer hummed back to life, spewing forth documents in a display of submission. The office hailed Sister Scribe as a hero, for she had tamed the wild beast with the sacred art of the Wristlock. The mystical dance of the Wristlocked waltz. At the grand ball, Lord Lockwell, a secret practitioner of our faith, found himself in a dance with the Duchess of Disdain, a notorious critic of all things Wristlock. As they waltzed, the Lord subtly introduced Wristlock movements into their dance, leading with such finesse and elegance that the Duchess found herself swirling in a trance of unexpected delight. By the dance's end, she had become a fervent admirer of the Wristlock, proclaiming its grace to all the land. The Great Escape of Gentleman Grappler. Gentleman Grappler, while on an expedition in the jungles, found himself ensnared in the grip of a vine so tenacious it could rival the strongest of holds. Channeling the spirit of the Wristlock, he twisted and turned, applying the sacred principles to free himself from nature's grasp. His escape was so artful that even the birds and beasts paused in awe, recognizing the mastery of a true Wristlock disciple. These stories, dear brethren and sistren, though shrouded in a veil of humor, speak to the boundless applications of our beloved Wristlock. In kitchens and offices, ballrooms and jungles, the Wristlock emerges not just as a technique, but as a beacon of hope, a testament to the ingenuity and spirit of its practitioners. Closing prayers. O glorious adherents of the majestic Wristlock, as we approach the culmination of our sacred gathering, let us cast our eyes to the future, a future so resplendent in the glory of the Wristlock that it outshines even the sunniest of Brazilian beaches. The grand vision of tomorrow. Behold, the prophecy foretells a time when the Church of Wristlocks shall rise, not just as a mere martial arts faction, but as a global powerhouse of spiritual and physical enlightenment. Envision grand temples, not just dojos, dedicated to the art of the wrist lock, towering over cities, their spires reaching for the heavens, a beacon for lost souls seeking the path of true mastery. Imagine a world where world leaders gather not in boring boardrooms, but on the sacred mats, resolving global conflicts with the wisdom of the wrist lock. Picture a society where the morning greeting is not a mundane handshake, but a respectful and gentle wristlock exchange, symbolizing trust, camaraderie, and a shared understanding of life's greatest technique, the wristlock in every aspect of life. The day will come when the wristlock is not just a part of martial arts training, but a core curriculum in schools. Children will not only learn to read and write, but also to apply wristlocks with the grace and precision of the ancient masters. Universities will offer degrees in wristlock studies, delving into the philosophical, psychological, and physical nuances of our beloved art, a galactic reach. And let us not limit our vision to this earthly realm. As we advance into the era of space exploration, astronauts shall employ the wristlock in zero gravity, a technique so versatile it transcends the very laws of physics. Alien civilizations will gaze upon Earth and say, "Lo, those Earthlings, how wise and nimble they are with their cosmic wristlocks." As we conclude our sermon, let us join hands, or rather, wrists, in a circle of unity and strength. May the sacred wristlock guide you in times of doubt, empower you in moments of weakness, and bring you joy in every twist and turn of life. May your locks be firm, your twists be wise, and your paths be guided by the gentle, unyielding spirit of the wristlock. Go forth, brave practitioners, and spread the good word, for in every corner of the world, a wrist awaits your enlightened grasp. In the name of the ancient masters, the revered Revenant Canudus, and the holy art of the wristlock, we say, Amen os, and keep those.
The 20 Commandments of the Church of Wristlock explained. 1. Honor thy wrist and thy neighbors. In the grand tapestry of martial arts, the wrist is not merely a joint, it's a vessel of potential. To honor thy wrist is to recognize the infinite possibilities it holds for both attack and defense. Similarly, honoring thy neighbor's wrist means engaging with respect and care, acknowledging the sacred bond between practitioners on their path to enlightenment. 2. Do not take the wristlock's name in vain. The wristlock, a technique both sublime and profound, should never be invoked lightly. It is not just a move, but a holy testament to our dedication. To speak of it frivolously is to diminish its sanctity and the depth of our commitment to mastering this divine art. 3. Remember the day of training. 6 days we dedicate to the rigorous practice of our art, refining our grips and perfecting our twists. Yet on the 7th, we pause, not in idleness, but in contemplation. This day of reflection is sacred, a time to ponder the deeper meaning of our journey and the wristlocks that guide us. 4. Honor thy sensei and training partners. Our senseis who impart the sacred knowledge of the wristlock and our training partners who stand with us in the crucible of practice are deserving of our utmost respect. They are not just instructors or adversaries, but fellow pilgrims on the road to martial enlightenment. 5. Do not bear false witness. In the fellowship of the mat, honesty is paramount. To critique a fellow practitioner's wristlock is a duty that must be undertaken with kindness and a constructive spirit. False praise serves no one, and honest feedback is the crucible from which true skill is forged. 6. Do not covet thy neighbor's grip strength. Envy has no place in the Church of Wristlocks. Each practitioner's journey is unique, and rather than covet another's grip strength, we should focus on cultivating our own through dedication and perseverance. 7. Study the sacred scriptures. The wisdom of the Wristlock is vast, encompassing not just techniques but a philosophy of life. The sacred scriptures of our art, filled with the teachings of ancient masters, offer invaluable insights. To study them is to connect with the very soul of our practice. 8. Apply with precision and grace. The Wristlock, when executed, should be a symphony of precision and grace. It is not a weapon of brute force, but a testament to our understanding of leverage, anatomy, and the delicate balance between strength and finesse. 9. Embrace the journey. Mastery of the Wristlock is a lifelong quest, a journey without end. We must embrace each step, each setback, and each triumph as part of a greater process of growth and discovery. 10. Share the gospel. The teachings of the Wristlock are not to be hoarded but shared. With zeal and fervor, we must bring the good word to the uninitiated, offering them a path to enlightenment and the joys of our practice. 11. Do not judge by the belt. In our sacred halls, the color of one's belt is but a cloth. True judgment lies in the character of the practitioner and the finesse with which they execute their Wristlocks. It is the spirit, not the rank, that defines our brethren. 12. Seek lessons in everyday life. The philosophy of the Wristlock extends beyond the mat, into the very fabric of our daily lives. Each challenge, each interaction, is an opportunity to apply the principles we cherish, finding strength, balance, and wisdom in the grip of routine. 13. Meditate upon the Wristlock. In quiet contemplation, we find the deepest truths. Meditating on the Wristlock allows us to explore its intricacies, understanding not just the how, but the why, discovering the balance and harmony within. 14. Practice the holy stretch. Flexibility, both physical and mental, is the companion of the Wristlock practitioner. The holy stretch is our ritual, ensuring our bodies and minds remain supple, ready to adapt and overcome. 15. Cherish each tap. Each tap on the mat is a lesson, a gift from the divine, teaching us humility, resilience, and the boundless capacity for improvement. We cherish these moments, for they are our guides on the path to mastery. 16. Art of patience. The perfect Wristlock is a creature of timing, emerging not from haste, but from the sacred patience of the practitioner. We cultivate this patience, knowing that in the right moment, our opportunity will arise. 17. Celebrate brethren's victories. In the joy of our brethren's victories, we find our own triumph. The Church of Wristlocks is a community bound by shared success, where each win, each perfected lock, lifts us all. 18. Do not despair in defeat. Defeat is but a shadow on the path to enlightenment. In each fall, we find the strength to rise, to learn, and to return to the mat with renewed determination and wisdom. 19. Keep thy ego locked away. Humility is the key that unlocks true growth. In locking away our ego, we open ourselves to learning, to change, and to the profound understanding that there is always more to know, always further to grow. 20. Love the Wristlock with all thy heart. Above all, we are called to love the Wristlock with every fiber of our being. It is the greatest of all techniques, a divine gift that binds us, teaches us, and guides us. With heart, soul, and grip strength, we dedicate ourselves to its practice, for now and forever.
Brothers and sisters, gather round, for today we delve deep into the sacred scriptures of our most holy Church of the Wristlock. I am your spiritual guide, Renshi Kenudus, beacon of the blessed path of submission and enlightenment through the divine Wristlock. As we come together in the sanctuary of our mats, let us open our hearts and minds to the profound teachings and revelations that await. For the wristlock is not merely a technique, it is a way of life, a beacon of truth in a world of chaos. Today is sermon number 4. So tighten your belts, adjust your GIs, and prepare your spirits. We're about to embark on a journey through time and space, from the cosmic creation of the wrist to its sacred manifestation in our daily lives. Whether you're a seasoned grappler or a curious soul wandering the spiritual wilderness, this sermon from the 4th main gathering of the Church of the Wristlock promises enlightenment, laughter, and perhaps a deeper understanding of the universe itself. Stay with us as we unravel the divine mysteries of the wristlock, a technique so powerful it's said to hold the key to the very fabric of existence. Are you ready to be enlightened? Then let's roll. In the beginning, there was the wrist. Brethren, in the beginning, when the universe was a void without form and the spirits floated aimlessly in the ether, the great mat in the sky did quiver. From this divine vibration, the wrist, yes, the wrist, was born. And thus, the foundation of all submissions was laid, a testament to the eternal power of the twist and lock. This sacred genesis of the wrist was no mere happenstance. It was the universe's first decree, a divine proclamation that from this wrist, all forms of mastery and control would henceforth spring. The wrist, in its infinite wisdom and flexibility, was destined to become the cornerstone of our spiritual and physical journey, a symbol of the ultimate connection between the heavens and the earth. And so, as we gather here today, we stand, or rather grapple, on the shoulders of this monumental moment in cosmic history, ready to delve deeper into the mysteries and teachings of the wristlock. Let us reflect on its omnipresence in the fabric of our daily lives, and how, through its guidance, we navigate the complex tapestry of our existence. In the tapestry of our daily lives, amidst the hustle and bustle that defines our existence, the wristlock emerges not just as a technique, but as a guiding philosophy. It weaves itself into the very essence of our being, offering lessons that extend far beyond the confines of any dojo. The parable of the doubting Thomas. Hear now the parable of doubting Thomas, the grappler who believed not in the power of the wristlock. Thomas spake, "Show me a sign, for I believe only in the choke and the arm bar." And lo, unto Thomas appeared a vision of the wristlock prophet, who did say, "O ye of little faith, extend thine arm unto me." And with a flick and a twist, Thomas did tap, and his faith was restored. Verily, he went forth to preach the gospel of the wristlock, his doubts cast aside like a worn-out GI. The Book of Ligaments. Turn we now to the Book of Ligaments, where the sacred texts speak, "Blessed are those who lock, for they shall inherit the mat. For in every joint and ligament there is a lock waiting to be discovered, a submission waiting to be embraced." Thus, we are reminded that the path to martial enlightenment is paved with the understanding and application of the wristlock, from white belt to black, from novice to master. The revelations of flexibility. Behold, the revelations of flexibility were bestowed upon the faithful, teaching that to be rigid is to be broken, but to be flexible is to find strength in the gentle art. For the wristlock doth not just bend the wrist, but also the will of thine opponent, leading them to the sacred tap. Let us, therefore, be like the willow, bending in the wind, but never breaking, our flexibility a testament to our devotion. The Exodus from mediocrity. Fellow practitioners, I speak unto you of the great Exodus, the journey from the land of mediocrity to the promised land of technical prowess. With the wristlock as our staff, we parted the Red Sea of doubt, leading our spirits to the hallowed ground, where every grip promises salvation and every twist preaches deliverance from the mundane. The Book of Armaments, chapter Wrist, verse Lock. Brethren, turn now in your holy manuals to the Book of Armaments, chapter Wrist, verse Lock. And lo, the practitioner, armed with knowledge and faith in the holy twist, shall lay hands upon the adversary. With a grip firm yet righteous, they shall apply the sacred twist. And there shall be much tapping, and it shall be known that the wristlock reigneth supreme. The revelations of the mat. Behold, the revelations of the mat have shown us the path to transcendence lies not through strength nor speed, but through the divine grace of the wristlock. For in its execution we find purity of purpose, in its mastery the key to the gates of martial heaven, the benediction of the joint lock. As we conclude today's sermon, let us join our hands, not in combat, but in unity, celebrating the bond that ties us, the wristlock that guides us. May your joints be supple, your grips be strong, and your submissions be many. Go forth with the blessing of the twisted limbs, spreading the word of the wristlock to every corner of the earth. In the name of the grip, the twist, and the holy tap we...
Introduction to Sermon. Number 6. The wristlock's cosmic grip on the universe. Beloved disciples of the divine grip, it is I, your humble servant and guide on this path of submission and enlightenment, Renshi Kenedus. As we convene once more in our hallowed dojo of the Spirit, let us reflect with a smirk and a nod on the journey thus far. From the dawn of creation, where the universe itself was a mere white belt in the art of existence, to the sacred scrolls that revealed the wristlock as the ultimate path to cosmic balance. Today, we embark on a voyage unlike any before. Our sermon will explore the very fabric of the cosmos, stitched together by the unbreakable thread of the wristlock. Prepare your minds and spirits, dear congregation, for today we discover how the wristlock not only binds our wrists but the very stars in the heavens. Section 1. The wristlock as the fabric of the cosmos. In the beginning, before time knew its name and space its place, there existed a singular force, a divine technique so potent that its application birthed galaxies, constellations, and the occasional black hole. This technique, as you may have guessed, was the celestial wristlock. Imagine, if you will, the Big Bang as the universe's first successful escape from a poorly executed cosmic wristlock. From this explosive revelation, matter learned to respect the principles of leverage and timing, forming into celestial bodies that dance in harmonious orbits, a testament to the wristlock's eternal grip. Section 2. Wristlocks in mythology and legend. In the annals of time, etched into the very essence of myth and legend, stand tales of heroes and gods whose fates were sealed by the sacred wristlock. Take, for instance, Hercules, whose 12th labor was not, as commonly misconstrued, the capture of Cerberus, but a challenge to apply a wristlock on Zeus himself. A tale lost to history, obscured by jealous scholars. Yet Hercules' technique was so divine, Zeus granted him immortality for his prowess. Then there's the lesser-known legend of Wristlockiana, the patron saint of joint manipulation. It was said her wristlocks were so potent they could turn the tides of battle, heal the sick, and occasionally uncork the most stubborn of wine bottles. Her legacy, though buried under layers of skepticism, lives on in every practitioner who dares to believe in the transcendent power of the wristlock. Section 3. The wristlock philosophy of life. Embarking further into the doctrine of our faith, the wristlock emerges not just as a technique but as a beacon guiding us through the tumultuous seas of existence. For life, much like a stubborn opponent, often resists our efforts to progress, to find peace, to secure that metaphorical tap-out that signifies victory over our challenges. Consider, if you will, the morning alarm, our daily adversary. With the precision and grace of a well-executed wrist lock, we can subdue the snooze button, rising to greet the dawn with enthusiasm and purpose. Or in the arena of the workplace, where disputes and deadlines loom like opponents in the ring, the principles of the wrist lock teach us to find leverage in our arguments, timing in our decisions, and the strength to hold our ground until victory is ours. Section 4. The future of the wrist lock. Peering into the crystal ball, or perhaps the shimmering surface of a well-polished trophy, we glimpse a future where the wrist lock reigns supreme. Imagine a world where political disputes are settled not in the halls of power but on the mats of justice, where a well-placed wrist lock can determine the fate of nations, ensuring peace and prosperity for all. In this utopia, children are taught the ways of the wrist lock from a tender age, learning the values of respect, discipline, and humility. The wrist lock becomes a universal language, a tool for communication and understanding that transcends barriers, unites cultures, and solves the age-old mystery of why we can never find the second sock of the pair. Conclusion. As we close this chapter in our sacred text, let us carry forth the lessons of the wrist lock in our hearts and wrists. Let it remind us that in every challenge lies an opportunity, in every opponent a teacher, and in every twist and turn of life a chance to apply the divine principles of our art. May the grip of the wrist lock hold you firm in your convictions, flexible in your understanding, and always ready to embrace the mysteries of the universe. Go forth, my disciples, with the knowledge that you wield not just a technique, but a cosmic power that binds us all in the divine clasp of salvation. In the name of the grip, the twist, and the sacred submission, Amen.